Welcome to Category 5.
Hey, it's me, Henry.
Henry! How you been, buddy? It's been a long time, man.
Give me a high five.
Yeah, we're going to have a great show, and you just reminded me so much of Mario.
I know, because there's
That
some
voice.
crazy thing going online right now that you should totally talk about. I mean, like, I just got back from this Battle Royale.
Oh, well, but if it's a game that looks like Mario, it's going to be... they're going to get DCMA takedown. Oh, is it generic?
247.
Oh, perfect. But if only... The thing about Mario that I just don't like is that you've got to wait your turn back and forth between the controllers.
Robbie. What if I told you that you could play with 99 people at the same time?
Like a battle royale?
Like a battle royale.
Whoa.
In classic 2D.
Wow.
Same.
I want to learn more about this, Henry.
Me too,
We're going to have to show this a little bit later on. Also, as we're kind of on the kick of retro, we're going to be speaking with Jim Hall from the FreeDOS project. He's the founder and creator of FreeDOS, which is still a thing and is celebrating 25 years. Stick around.
This is Category 5 Technology TV.
Our live recordings are trusted only to solid-state drives by Kingston Technology. Revive your computer with improved performance and reliability over traditional hard drives with Kingston SSDs.
Category 5 TV streams live with Telestream, Wirecast, and Nimble Streamer. Tune in every week on Roku, Kodi, Plex, and other HLS video players. For local showtimes, visit category5.tv.
Category5.tv is a member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. cat5.tv/TPN and the International Association of Internet Broadcasters. cat5.tv/IAIB.
Viewers who are just joining us are like, who is that voice?
Yeah.
It's Henry baillie-brown, everybody.
Back.
He's
Hi.
back. Yay.
I'm alive.
It's been a long time. You've been well?
Tis been more a fortnight or 2 or 20. It's been a long time. It's good to be back, everyone.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Sasha, how you been?
I've been well.
Yeah.
Been a week.
Yeah. Well, here we are. I've been just counting down the days to get here to Wednesday night. Nice to see everybody. Good to have you here. I am Robbie. My name didn't get mentioned, so that's like your cue, guys,
Hi,
to be
Robbie.
like, oh, and he's
Hey,
Robbie.
Robbie, how are you?
Yeah,
Hi.
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. We've got a great show planned for you today. A little bit of a retro theme, which your shirt, made in the 80s, is absolutely perfect. And yours even.
I'm like
Yeah,
77, man. Like,
Wow.
there you go.
I'm just like, and I'm like future tech.
That's good, too.
I didn't get the memo.
You got the tech side.
That's good. Hey, before we jump into it today, I want to remind you to subscribe to us on YouTube and also click that bell so that you get the notifications anytime that we are posting new and exciting content on our channel. Now, the FreeDOS project is still a thing.
Mm-hmm. It's still around.
And not only still around, but celebrating 25 years.
Wow.
And it's an open source DOS clone, I guess you would call it, DOS compatible operating system. Mm-hmm. And we're going to learn all about it today. Help me welcome Jim Hall. He's the founder and the project coordinator for FreeDOS. Jim, thanks for joining us, and congratulations in celebrating your 25-year anniversary.
That's a huge milestone, really, for any project, especially for something like DOS.
Sure is. Now, Jim, before we actually get into the validity of FreeDOS in 2019, I'd love to hear a little bit about how and why the project got started. Let's start back in the days of MS-DOS. What brought about FreeDOS, and how did the whole project begin?
Sure. I was a big DOS user from pretty much the 80s on. My family started with an Apple II computer like a lot of people, but we moved on to an IBM personal computer running DOS. I just thought the command line for DOS was certainly a lot more powerful than we had on the Apple. And so I really got into that command line, all that flexibility, putting together these small tools to do bigger things.
Yeah.
And then I taught myself programming. And so as I learned how to program, I'd write little utilities to kind of extend parts of the command line a little bit for me.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to college, I was really a power user, and I had written all kinds of utilities that would extend the functionality of DOS. and I used lots of DOS applications, especially as a college student. I was a physics major, and so I used spreadsheet program, as easy as my favorite, and then word processors, and I just really, really loved DOS. I still, I ran Linux. I installed Linux in '93.
Yeah.
And
back in the very early days of Linux.
Very, very early. It was like 0.99 patch level, like 11, I think.
Now tell us, what was your first distro? Like, I was Caldera back in those days.
Mine was a little distribution called SLS Linux, Soft Landing Linux Systems, 1.03, I think, and it was advertised as a soft touchdown for DOS users, and it really was.
Yeah.
And so I thought, Linux was this. I immediately saw that it was more powerful than DOS, but obviously DOS still had the applications. And so, in 1994, I read a lot of technology magazines, and I started to see these interviews from Microsoft saying, hey, the next version of Windows will not need DOS. In fact, DOS is pretty much going to go away.
Right.
And I said, look, I still use DOS.
Yeah, you and everyone else at that time, because we didn't want to lose that command prompt, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, Windows was not actually that great at that point. It was Windows 3. And I remember saying, God, if the next version of Windows, if Windows 4 is going to look anything like Windows 3, I'm not quite sure I'm ready to go there. I think I'd rather write my own DOS. And so I just said, I said, I posted on Usenet back in the day. I said, somebody should write a free version of DOS, kind of like Linux, right? Linux was the model that I had, so somebody should write a free version of DOS, just like there's a free version of Unix. Somebody should write DOS, and a lot of people said, that's a great idea, and you should do it.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what's coming to mind. Back in the Usenet days, it's like, well, then do it, because I'm not doing it. It's your idea.
And so I took all those tools that I'd written over the years, and I kind of packaged them up, and I kind of made my first little FreeDOS release. I made an announcement on June 29, 1994, saying, "Hey, we're starting this project at the time called PDDOS, Public Domain DOS."
Yeah,
didn't understand public domain at the time versus free software, so it was PDDOS for I think like a month. And then we changed it to FreeDOS. But that's where it started. And once I released that first package, that first set of utilities, it was surprising how many people actually came to me and said, "Hey, okay, so you got something going. I want to do something too," or "I've written some utilities that expanded my command line," or "I wrote some utilities that replaced the MS-DOS functionality over here." And
fantastic.
So started to collect those together, and it kind of snowballed from there. That's really the origin of FreeDOS.
So your compatibility, FreeDOS versus MS-DOS, was quite interoperable at that time?
We didn't have a kernel back then.
Okay.
So our first versions were really shooting for utilities, and so I had this grand idea at the time that we'd break up into like 3 different groups. This was very optimistic of me. Really, it would just sort of happen organically. But I thought we'd have probably a utilities group, we'd probably have a drivers group, we'd probably have a kernel group, just because I kind of thought that's how it'd be done.
Right.
Nope. And in fact, what happens is everyone just contributes what they want to do. That's how open source works. So everyone contributes what they want to do. And so you had a lot of people that contributed utilities, some drivers. We went out and found some on different FTP sites, a lot of public domain code at the time that did a lot of cool stuff. And so we really had utilities really came first. And then after that, I got contacted by Pat Villani through the folks at the DOSEMU project. And he said he had a kernel that he had written that was mostly compatible with DOS, and he wanted to contribute to the FreeDOS project. And so that's how we got our kernel. And I think that happened about, I want to say like a year or so on, is when we got the kernel from Pat.
Oh, fantastic. Jim, here's a question that you probably hear a lot of these days. Is there still a reason for DOS to exist in modern computing?
Okay, so I never really imagined that like FreeDOS is going to replace Linux or Windows or anything. Nobody's I think ever pitching that DOS is going to become the new thing.
Yeah.
But why are people running DOS then in 2019? It's really because we actually did a survey on our website a couple of years back, and I think this is still true. So most of the people who are running FreeDOS are using FreeDOS to play legacy. DOS games.
Yes.
Classic DOS games. And I still do that. So that most of our users are very likely doing that. We also have a number of people that are using FreeDOS to run, legacy applications.
Okay.
And in fact, when I was at a university, I was a campus CIO for a university, we actually had a faculty member that came to us one day and said, I've got these floppy disks that have data on them from some research project she'd worked on back in the probably 80s or 90s.
Right.
And I can't read them. The floppies were fine, but she couldn't read the data files. Like nothing would read them. Excel wouldn't read them. LibreOffice wouldn't read them. And so we set up Linux or set up FreeDOS rather on a spare machine. Found a copy of the program that she'd been using. Put that on the FreeDOS machine.
Yeah.
And we're able to read the data from her floppy disks and then just export them to text files, so that way she could get her data back.
So it's like a pseudo data recovery application as well in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
for retro users. Sorry, go ahead.
We also get some people that do embedded systems work.
Yeah.
I don't know that a lot of that happens. Probably not a lot of it today.
Are you talking like CNC machines, like that kind of stuff, or?
No, I think we're talking about like one example, probably my favorite example actually, is this guy had made a pinball machine that used FreeDOS to drive the board, like keep score.
No.
And I thought that was a really cool thing. I'd love to talk to that guy someday to find out what happened to that project. But that's one example of using an embedded system that runs FreeDOS.
That's way cool.
And then of course you always get people who use FreeDOS to install BIOS updates. That happens a lot. So there's still people who run BIOS updates off of it requires a DOS program.
Yeah.
Or DOS operating system rather, and so people use FreeDOS for that. I always forget to count that BIOS updates as part of how people use FreeDOS, because they don't really install FreeDOS to do the BIOS updates. They're really just putting on like a fob drive, but yeah, BIOS updates definitely are one way that people use FreeDOS today.
And what makes FreeDOS better than MS-DOS? Like why? Like certainly MS-DOS is kind of not really thought about too much these days, but back in the day when people were deciding between FreeDOS and MS-DOS, I'm sure it was even more prominent, that differentiation. Right. So what sets you guys apart?
Well, I think the obvious one today is we're still working on FreeDOS and MS-DOS.
Yeah, this is still a living project after 25 years, my man.
Yeah, people. Yeah, we're still working on it, so that's a big deal. Obviously, the source code you can see, but one thing we've tried to do with FreeDOS over the years is how can we make FreeDOS more modern? It's not just about replacing the functionality of MS-DOS like one for one and then stopping there. I've always said if that's what we did, if we were just replacing all the functionality one for one and didn't do anything more, then FreeDOS would be just as dull as MS-DOS. So we've added to the FreeDOS command line. So we've added a lot of utilities to FreeDOS. A lot of stuff that just didn't exist in MS-DOS at the time. One thing that I find interesting is we've added some Unix-like utilities. Okay. So there was this project back in the 90s, I think, maybe even the 80s, called the GNU-ish project, and they ported GNU utilities, command line utilities to MS-DOS, and they stopped, I think, around 95, if I recall correctly. But we've kept up. People will contribute, Unix-like programs or Linux-like programs, so you can run them on the FreeDOS command line. I think that's a great thing because it makes FreeDOS a little more approachable to people who are only used to Linux, because MS-DOS command line or the FreeDOS command line is a little different than Linux, but adding those utilities back in makes it a little bit more, let's say, feeling a little bit more like home.
Yeah.
So we just adding this extra functionality to FreeDOS that MS-DOS just never had.
Cool. Now, I'm speaking with Jim Hall, the creator of the FreeDOS project. The project is celebrating 25 years this week. Jim, do I need to, you mentioned floppy disks, so immediately I'm thinking about the fact that no computer these days has a floppy drive or anything like that. Most kids these days have never even seen a floppy disk. Do I have to have an old computer to run FreeDOS, or will it run on modern hardware?
So that's an interesting question. Running on modern hardware at the bare hardware level is getting tougher because
UEFI comes to mind.
Exactly the reason. So FreeDOS is like any DOS, and it relies on having an Intel machine with a BIOS. And so if your machine has UEFI, it needs to have a BIOS compatibility layer in it,
right.
Which you're starting to find more and more rare.
Yeah.
And so if you've got a system that just has UEFI, doesn't have BIOS support in it at all, you're not going to be running FreeDOS on that. Mm-hmm. That said, not a lot of people these days are really running FreeDOS on modern, like new out of the box hardware, because FreeDOS is a 16-bit operating system.
Yeah. There aren't too many 500 megabyte hard drives kicking around anymore.
Right. Yeah, you're talking disks now are in the terabytes.
Yeah.
Way more disks than FreeDOS is going to be able to comfortably manage.
So then what's the option? Like, can I use a hypervisor like VirtualBox? Yeah,
that's how I think most people are running it. Running FreeDOS as some sort of virtual machine. And actually, that's how I run FreeDOS. I run Linux as my desktop operating system, and I run a virtual environment called QEMU to boot FreeDOS, and so it works great there. And FreeDOS, because it's an older operating system, doesn't require a ton of memory, so firing up that virtual machine is pretty light.
Yeah.
Other people, we do know some people though do actually install FreeDOS on. Let's say collected hardware, antique, vintage, legacy hardware.
That makes sense. Yeah.
They'll find Pentiums, 486s sometimes, 386. I think we had somebody said they had a 286. But you find this hardware from the 90s, early 2000s, and there are people that are installing FreeDOS on those older machines because they're setting up a dedicated DOS machine, and FreeDOS works great there.
Sure.
Because that's hardware it's absolutely designed for.
Oh, and I would imagine it would just breathe new life into that old hardware for sure. Now, there's the other side of it. Like, most of us are not going to run out and buy legacy hardware because, truth be told, unless you can find it, like, cheap from somebody who doesn't know any better, like it's like a collector's item, so you're gonna pay through the teeth. You might as well put it on newer hardware. So if I go with a virtual machine of FreeDOS on my i9, like, are my retro games, like, I think about, like, Prince of Persia was brilliant, like cutting edge at the time. Am I gonna have performance issues, like, and it's like the opposite of what you would expect? Is it going to run too fast? Like, are my race car games from the DOS days going to be so fast that it's, like, ridiculous?
There are. So the answer to your first part is, you should be able to run any DOS game on FreeDOS. Just fire it up in a virtual machine and it'll run. But as you say, there are some games that made certain assumptions about the hardware it was running on.
Yeah.
And assumed the machine was only so fast, and that's how it reacted to the player. And so there's a really, really old game, I think, for like CGA systems. That kind of shows that age, but called Sopwith, that it's over in a flash because it just assumes you're running on, I think, an 8088 or something like that. Yeah,
even Commander Keen was, like, back in the CGA days, the earlier versions of Commander Keen.
Yep. But that one runs fine. I run that one myself, but. There's a pinball game, and I can't remember the name of it, but there's a pinball game that suffers the same thing. It really kind of assumes the machine at a certain speed.
Yeah.
So we have a program called Slowdown included in the FreeDOS distribution that should help you slow down your machine to run some of the older machines.
So this only impacts the performance of the virtual machine, yes? Like, so it basically
correct.
tricks the software because you didn't have the same like real-time clocking and all that kind of stuff back then. So.
Yep, exactly. And so it slows down just FreeDOS to run at that slower speed. Or some virtual machines have an ability to kind of emulate a slower system, and so they'll make it look at least to the guest operating system that it's running a little slower than your native CPU.
Jim, immediately what's coming to mind is speed runs. Like, can I just overclock it a little bit to make things run faster? Is that possible?
Hadn't thought about that. That would be interesting. That would be really interesting.
Okay. So that's something that we need to work on. So comment below. Let us know what games from that era you would love to play on FreeDOS. As I'm thinking about the hardware, Jim, these days ARM is taking over. Is there any hope that we're ever going to see anything that's not x86 based with FreeDOS, or is that just a pipe dream?
FreeDOS, as I said before, it really is like any other DOS, and it requires an Intel CPU.
Okay.
So can you run FreeDOS on like bare metal on like a Raspberry Pi or something? Not on a Raspberry Pi. The amount of work required to turn FreeDOS into a Raspberry Pi operating system is that's a lot, because it's different architecture. It doesn't have a BIOS. So you're really back to running FreeDOS inside a virtual machine.
Okay. Now, are there any plans for the future of FreeDOS? Like, here we are 25 years into the project, DOS being something that I think of as a very retro, almost nostalgic operating system. Has everything already been realized that can be done in a DOS environment, or is there more to be achieved?
Oh, it's. I think it's still growing. So we're obviously adding a lot to the command line. As I mentioned, I'm always encouraging people to port Unix software, Unix commands to the FreeDOS command line. And so I think that's something that we'll see more of, and kind of more utilities along, because user space is a great place to be. That said, there's also another group that is that's starting a new kernel project, and their goal is to be able to create I think a 64-bit version of a DOS kernel that can somehow run 16-bit programs. Now that's a huge undertaking. So I wish them the best of luck. I hope they get there. And I've always said if they can do it, I'd be interested in trying it out in FreeDOS and
for sure,
maybe making it an optional kernel, and maybe that's what's going to push us to like that FreeDOS 2.0 label.
Yeah, you've touched on. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that's always how we're looking at expanding. FreeDOS. Somebody. It's never really, I think, a directed thing. It's not like we say, "Oh, this is the roadmap that we have." We have a roadmap of a kind, but it's really about people are the ones that come up and say, "I'm planning to do this," or "Here's something that I wrote," and then if it's cool and useful, then we find a way to include it. That's really, cool. I think, how FreeDOS has really grown over the years. I think that's the reason that we're still around today, 20 years later. Is that it's always about what people want to do with FreeDOS and where they want to take it. It's not so much one or two people saying this is the roadmap that we've laid out, and only if you're on the roadmap you're going to make it. So it's always about, nope, what do people want to do to make FreeDOS great?
Jim, I appreciate your attitude. As the founder of FreeDOS, I think this is an inspirational attitude that we need to subscribe to as developers and as just society in general. But and I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but the conversation was really driving me to think about how people are able to contribute to the FreeDOS project. You have a very open mindset. You're very like with the open source concept, and your willingness to receive the kernel as they develop this new kernel and other contributions. What other ways can general users contribute to the project? We have a contribute link on our website. It's got a couple of things in there. Obviously, we're going to be getting people with different levels of experience, and so people who are sort of beginners in programming, people who have some programming experience, people who've got a lot of DOS programming experience, and so we have sort of suggestions broken out into that. So at the beginning level, like any project, we're saying, hey, test programs, put bugs in. To our tracker, test games in particular, because games are a great way to stress test
an operating system like DOS. So, testing games is a great way to do it.
I want to see those Mario speed runs, folks. Jill of the Jungle speed run. Let's do it.
And then we've got other stuff, just porting utilities to FreeDOS. And so, I also have been talking about creating like an alternative let's say a modern version of the command com shell. That'd be something I'd really like to see. But it's just not something I have time to work on. So it's like if somebody wants to like really test their programming chops, that list that we have on our website is a great place to be. We also have some other big stuff like creating something that will allow FreeDOS to work better in virtual environments like VirtualBox, so you can mount file systems or whatever from within VirtualBox. Things like that would be, I think, because FreeDOS really is going to be running in a virtual machine, ways that will make FreeDOS work better in those kind of virtual machines, I think is kind of the way to go. So, there's just a ton of ways to contribute to FreeDOS, but really it kind of comes down to what do you want to do? We've got lists of suggestions that might kind of help you get going, but I'm really looking for people who want to join FreeDOS and kind of do something that they want to work on.
And Jim, your website address being?
It's at freedos.org, freedos.org.
And I imagine we can also download FreeDOS from that link as well.
Absolutely.
Jim, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say
we have that micro fracture of a delay, so we're I'm constantly stumbling on you. I apologize.
That's okay. I was saying that we I track our downloads on the FreeDOS project. Every time you download FreeDOS off of our website, it goes into a little tracker, so I can just kind of see who's downloading. I'm not tracking who's downloading, just that it's been downloaded. And so I was able to see. I ran stats this morning, and we've been maintaining an average of about 50,000 downloads a month.
Wow.
For the last 2 years, back to May or June of 2017, been a pretty constant 50,000. So that's a pretty good number.
Software from like 2019 has trouble achieving those numbers.
Yeah. One of my friends was saying, some Linux distributions don't have those numbers. So we feel pretty good to have that.
And I imagine that, us Linux users are we're looking for ways to play retro gaming, and emulators are not always the way to do it. So something like FreeDOS in VirtualBox is a fantastic free way to make it happen.
Absolutely.
So, Jim, I want to thank you for your contributions to the community as a whole. As a Linux user myself, I can see the benefits in having FreeDOS as a virtual appliance. And again, thank you so much for your attitude. I find it inspirational. And folks, learn from what you heard here today. This is how a project should be administered. Jim, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Folks, it's time to head over to the newsroom. Here's Sasha.
Hello. Here are the stories we're covering this week in the Category 5.tv newsroom. Apple has issued a voluntary recall for the MacBook Pro again. Dell's included Support Assist tool is the latest to require urgent patching after an admin escalation bug was discovered. Windows Terminal Preview is now available to download, and Robert Downey Jr. is creating a foundation that will use robots to clean up the environment. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Category 5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
I'm Sasha Rickman, and here are the top stories we're following this week. Apple has issued a voluntary recall for the MacBook Pro again. Apple has urged its fans to stop using certain MacBook Pro models and has issued a voluntary recall of the notebooks after they were found to be prone to battery blazes. Apple said that they have, quote, determined that in a limited number of older generation 15-inch MacBook Pro units, the battery may overheat and pose a fire safety risk. They go on to explain affected units were sold primarily between September 2015 and February 2017, and product eligibility is determined by the product serial number, end quote. MacBook Pro users can check if their device is covered by entering their serial number into Apple's support page. Those who fall under the recall will then be given more information on how they can get the fire hazard hazard battery swapped out for one that will hopefully be less likely to suddenly burst into flames. Users of the apparently cursed run of MacBooks will remember that it was just 1 year ago, nearly to the day, that Apple finally caved and agreed to issue a voluntary recall to replace the keyboards on notebooks made during the same 2015 to 2017 time period. This time, though, Apple says, quote, because customer safety is a top priority, Apple is asking customers to stop using effective 15-inch MacBook Pro units, end quote. Wow.
It's not a fault, it's a feature.
Is this is this by any chance, like, was between 2015 and 2017, did Samsung assist with the development of Apple's products?
I wonder, because, it's sad, because, like, you've really started to see kind of a downward turn in, like, the quality from Apple recently, right? And you have all these other things that if they can produce a $1,000 stand, why can't they just take a little bit of extra time, make sure everything works all right? Like, I know it's technology, so things are bound to break, but...
Sure.
Is it over time that the battery starts to blaze? Because we are 2 years out from the production day, right? So has it been catching fire all this time?
Well, that's the thing. I haven't heard anyone reporting injury or fire or anything like that, but probably. Yeah, I wonder if, because I joke about Samsung, but in light of Samsung's debacle with, was it the Galaxy Note
Galaxy
7,
Note
I think?
Something.
Yeah, well,
It was the one I really wanted
exploding batteries and things like that are just, it doesn't go over well on social media. And, Apple is, they charge the high prices because they say ours is better quality. So if
they want to control the brand, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just blown away that between like 2015 and 2017 seems like it was a long time ago, and I haven't seen a YouTube video or something.
We'd hear about it.
Yeah,
we'd certainly hear about it. So as Henry says, it's preventative to avoid that scenario where they've obviously tested or had one happen internally or something to realize.
I just like how Sasha said she was blown away by exploding batteries.
I'm blown away, really. Dell's included Support Assist tool is the latest to require urgent patching after an admin escalation bug was discovered. Dell computers include their troubleshooting software, Support Assist. Last week, we learned that it has a security flaw that can be exploited by malware and rogue logged-in users to gain administrator powers. The IT giant includes the Windows-based troubleshooting program with the new desktops, notebooks, and tablets. Unfortunately, the software insecurely loads .dll files when run. Researcher Peleg Hadar said that Support Assist, which runs with system-level privileges, will automatically pull in unsigned code libraries from user-controlled folders. That means malware or dodgy users can leave their own .dll files in a path, wait for Support Assist to blindly load them, and thus execute code within an admin context. That would allow software nasties already on a computer or a rogue logged-in insider to gain complete control over a vulnerable system. It also means that browser exploits, which drop files arbitrarily in user-writable directories, can potentially trigger a remote admin level compromise. This .dll injection vulnerability is present on as many as 100 million Dell PCs. The most concerning part of this story is that Hadar believes that Dell is not alone in shipping PCs with this particular flaw. The reason for this is that the vulnerability lies in a third-party component of Dell's Support Assist software that is produced and maintained by PC Doctor, a support and diagnostics app specialist. PC Doctor sells its software to PC makers that then integrate the code into their own products, such as Support Assist in the case of Dell. Should the vulnerable software prove to have been distributed by other computer vendors, it is likely we will see several big names in the PC space issuing updates similar to Dell's, and PC Doctor will have some explaining to do to its partners and the general public. Affected versions of the software, including Dell Support Assist for Business PCs version 2.0 and Dell Support Assist for Home PCs version 3.2.1 and all prior releases. Dell Support Assist for Business PCs version 2.0.1 and Dell Support Assist for Home PCs version 3.2.2 are the builds you need to install to kill off this high severity hole.
That's scary because when you buy a new computer and the software that just comes with it
Yeah.
allows code execution at the administrator level.
Well, just the name of it though, assist. Like you think it's going to help you, but in
sure.
the end,
Yeah.
it's something that can detriment your PC experience.
And even just thinking about what Support Assist is for, and even Dell computers in general, like it's for the consumer. It's for the person who doesn't necessarily know a lot about their computer, because those who do probably wiped out Windows and installed Linux anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Good job, guys.
So as a novice user sitting down in front of my computer and now realizing that this is a vulnerability that, that it could be exploited. So again, we're looking at like a preemptive, like make sure you upgrade. I haven't heard of anything happening in the wild, but understanding that a website, for example, with a JavaScript running that saves these, say, virus-infected or ransomware DLL files within user folders, and now Support Assist will actually open those and run them with root or administrator privileges.
Scary.
Could be any number of things. Could be remote access for hackers to be able to access your network. Could be ransomware or other types of malware, or it could just be something that locks up your system and forces you to have to pay some Bitcoin to be able to continue using it.
Yeah.
I'm less afraid for Dell user or Dell, I guess users or purchasers, because now this is out for them. I'm really concerned for people that have the other. Yeah, because I mean, they might think, oh yeah, well, I don't have Dell, so
Right.
fine.
Yeah, like I think about not that there's any connection whatsoever,
Yeah.
but Acer computers, Lenovo computers, the first time you fire them up, there are a lot of branded tools that come with those computers.
Yeah, there are.
Lenovo has support tools that are built in. I don't know if they use that software that is that's able to be exploited, but what if it does?
Yeah,
How do we know?
There we go. That's the exploit that we know about. The ones that we don't, right?
Yeah.
So those are the dangerous ones.
I would like this PC doctor to speak up now and
Yeah, like fill us in. Who are your customers?
just
We need to know.
give us the list so that we can tell those particular people now's the time to.
The other fear that this raises in my mind is it's like when Microsoft Windows has these updates that are bricking systems, right?
Yes.
We're told to always keep our systems up to date because we want them to be safe.
Right.
Well, when you buy a new computer, you're told to have this software that is provided by the manufacturer in order to keep you up to date and keep your drivers running well and keep things running the way they should and be able to request support based on your warranty and things like that. So is the answer to remove it? Well, no, because it's important. Is the answer to stop getting your Windows updates? Well, no. But we have to be, I guess it comes down to being a little more conscious of what updates are happening, what programs are running. Maybe
Well, you
there's a
can
way to
a
stop
little
it from
bit delay
running
your
automatically.
updates, right? Like you can a little bit. So maybe delay them by like a little bit.
With
like,
Windows updates,
well-
you can say like, give me 2 weeks or whatever
right.
it is.
So
right?
maybe
Those have
that's
different
best.
tiers,
Maybe
yeah.
that's the best practice.
You
so
have to
that
do-
way,
Wait it out.
You can
Wait
find
to
out.
hear the news stories the next day.
Exactly. Don't just update right away when that pops up. Just
Yeah.
delay it just a tiny bit because the update's probably important and probably
Sure.
won't kill your computer. But
Yeah.
then there's the chance it might not be as important and will brick your computer. So it's a gamble.
So back at the Support Assist software, is there a way maybe in the settings to disable it from automatically launching
Yes.
on boot so it's not running and would only be used if you needed it, if you needed to request support? But then again, well, what happens if there are DLL files benignly sitting on your system that are infected and then you run it the once and it's... So update your Support Assist software, folks. And I suppose if you have a computer that came with some support software built in and you still have that running, look down at the clock and all the things that are running down there, then perhaps you should contact your manufacturer and just directly, not the store that you bought it from, because the store that you bought it from is not necessarily privy as to, if you bought a Lenovo from a store who simply drop shipped it to you, they don't know necessarily. So contact the manufacturer directly and say, is this an issue for you? Are you using and I forgot the name of the doctor software.
PC Doctor.
PC Doctor. Yeah. So are you using that for your support tools, for example, or are there updates on their website that you need to install?
There you go.
Right.
So maybe it just means let's be more active with our systems.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Windows Terminal Preview is now available to download. At its Build 2019 developer conference earlier this year, Microsoft revealed the Linux-inspired Windows Terminal, which gives access to the command prompt, PowerShell, and WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, in one place. The code has been available to download and compile for a little while, but now Microsoft has released a ready-made Windows Terminal app for anyone to try out. Describing the open source project, Microsoft says that the Windows Terminal is a new, modern, fast, efficient, powerful, and productive terminal application for users of command line tools and shells. Its main features include multiple tabs, Unicode, and UTF-8 character support, and a GPU accelerated text rendering engine, and custom themes, styles, and configurations. They do warn, however, that the app is still in its early stages and could contain bugs. More preview builds are promised, but at the moment, a timeline has not been released. If you'd like to grab the app, you can download it from the Microsoft Store.
They're doing what Linux has always done.
Exactly.
Yes. Excellent. Finally catching on. Now, if you could just switch to a non-fragmenting file system, we'll be very, very happy. But hey, nice to see.
Yes.
It's a good step forward.
It seems backwards in a way, right? Here we are, 2019, and we're putting all this work, and geeks are getting all excited about the command prompt.
Right.
Oh, I love my text. Yeah.
Rightfully.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking about episode number 614 of Category 5 Technology TV. Had the opportunity to speak with Jim from the FreeDOS project, and thinking about how here we are 25 years after the project was launched, and it's still active and still useful.
Yep.
And maybe, Microsoft is taking notice and saying, hey, Linux users still love the terminal.
There you go.
FreeDOS is still a thing. Maybe we should finally do stuff. It's like them fixing Notepad so UTF-8 is supported.
Well, didn't Microsoft buy out GitHub and stuff?
They did.
So they just see how popular coding is.
Oh,
so
yes.
maybe they're reinvesting and hey, maybe we should make sure our base standard's okay. Yeah. Our command prompt works
and
the
does
future.
stuff like ASCII character codes.
Just basic stuff, yeah.
Basic stuff. Like, okay, having a ASDF keyboard is one thing, but being able to use higher codes in the UTF-8 character set is kind of like 1980s. This is important to us now in 2019 for sure. Especially the World Wide Web has brought everyone together in the way that languages are no longer a barrier. So if you use UTF-8 being you think about characters with an accent on them. Well, they haven't been able to support that up until now. Yeah. What?
Well, welcome.
It's kind of
it's the future. It's
the future of finally.
Yeah.
But they do have some really neat stuff. I'm interested to know about GPU accelerated text.
Right.
I feel so confused by that. Your text
It's
will
so
come up
weird.
5 seconds faster.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, it's anti-aliased and nice fonts.
So shiny.
We'll just have to see.
It'll be cool.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is creating a foundation that will use robots to clean up the environment. He's famed for being a beloved Hollywood actor, philanthropist, and writer, but now he's adding robotics environmentalist to his list of good qualities. The Iron Man actor took to the stage recently at the Amazon Re-Mars conference in Las Vegas to announce the creation of his new foundation, which will use nanotechnology and robotics as a means of cleaning up the planet. He didn't disclose many details on how the organization will begin its cleanup mission, but a Footprint Coalition website went live shortly after the actor's announcement. At the moment, it simply allows a user to sign in to receive more information once it's released. Downey Jr. says that he will be spending the next 11 months collaborating with UN experts and building the organization so that the coalition can get to work by April 2020. He also explained how his neglect toward the environment in the past is now inspiring him to take action. Quote, "I have this quiet sense of crisis," he said. "I'm a one-man carbon footprint nightmare colossus, but I want to change," end quote. Regardless of the actor's precise plan of action, Forbes estimates that Downey Jr.'s net worth is about $81 million, more than enough to start tidying up the planet. You can find out more soon by visiting footprintcoalition.com.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, in a very good way. I don't mean crazy like no, this is like crazy like, for one thing, who it is.
Yes. Okay, so y'all know how I love robots. And you also know how I love the environment. So
Wow, bring those things together.
I feel like this story is for me. I am super excited. So Robert Downey Jr., if you want to talk to me, I'm available. We can collaborate.
For Category 5 TV, we can fly out there, you know.
You want to do an interview or something, we're good.
But let me get this straight. Tony Stark is doing what?
Well, I just think he has to partner with Elon Musk now, you know, like the actor for like Tony Stark with
the actual Tony Stark.
Like actual Tony Stark. But like he's already becoming Tony Stark in real life now because he's trying to save the world. So I don't know.
I wonder how much inspiration he brings from his character.
From his Marvel Universe experience.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, people see him as that character. Yeah. In a lot of ways, and people who meet him, you know, it's like any actor. It's like you can't meet Patrick Stewart and not think about Captain Picard. It's just it's not possible.
When they talk about robotics and the environment, I wonder like what part of the environment, because I'm wondering, is it going to be ocean care? Is it going to be robots like filtering ocean water?
Or that's what I envision.
Air? That's what or is it going to be air, or what is it going to be? Is it going to be some sort of like garbage something?
Well, it could be a combination because the ocean's also sucking carbon, so if you clean the oceans, you clean the air.
Yeah, I mean, I would put money on that it's ocean cleaning, but I don't know.
Huh.
I'm really keen to find out, though.
Space cleaning. Yeah. I don't know.
Or something that, like, it acts as a tree and filters the air.
But these are nanobots. Like, these are, like, take the thing on my shirt and shrink it down and then put it into the environment and see what it does. But the technology these days, it's possible. So when you hear something like this, and it sounds so sci-fi, and even coming from Robert Downey Jr., you're thinking, like, it just sounds like this is a movie stunt or something. But the technology can really be created these days.
Getting to that point.
The time is now. Like, focus all of our attention and our money on the environment, because that's the only way we're going to see the super awesome future that we...
Flying around in space, other galaxies.
Exactly.
You know, just... Clean up now, and you can have the future you want.
Yeah. We all have different visions of what he might be up to, what nanotechnology could be used for in order to improve the environment and clean up the environment, as he says. Yeah. Comment below if you're watching this on YouTube or on our website, category5.tv, wherever you are. If there's a comment box, let us know what you think could be down the line for this new foundation.
Exactly. Alternately, Robert Downey Jr., if you just like to... do an interview and let us know exactly the details. We are here.
If you just happen to be watching.
Exactly.
From the comfort of your Iron Man suit.
Right.
Yes.
Big thanks to Roy W. Nash and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Thanks for watching the Category5.tv newsroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And for more free content, be sure to check out our website. From the Category5.tv newsroom, I'm Sasha Rickman.
And I'm Robbie Ferguson.
I'm still Henry.
We do.
Thanks. Yes.
We have to take a very quick break. When we come back, well, we're going to be looking at a Super Mario Brothers Battle Royale game. I'm talking like NES quality with up to 99 players. Stick around.
Whoa.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, it's no secret we are retro gaming fans here at Studio D, and somebody had the nerve, and I mean the nerve, like the nerves of steel, to create a game based on Super Mario Bros. It was called Super Mario Bros. Battle Royale for about a week, when, of course, Nintendo issued a DCMA takedown request.
Nice.
And rather than taking it down, the developer decided to have a little bit of fun with it and renamed it Infringio Royale, or DCMA Royale, depending on where you look at the screen. It's still fully playable. It's absolutely free, and you do it in your browser. It just lacks your beloved Nintendo character and any trademark infringement.
It makes sense.
Right.
So let's actually check it out. You can go to cat5.tv/royale, and here we are at DCMA Royale.
It looks
beautiful.
awesome.
It was absolutely, it looked exactly like Mario Bros. However, now, okay, understand what a battle royale means. We're talking up to 99 players simultaneously playing Super Mario Bros. I mean, Infringio.
I was about to say, I almost had to go
Like
get
on
Nintendo.
the same screen, like you're all
On the
playing.
same screen. Are we ready to give this a try? You
Yeah.
can do so at
Just do it.
cat5.tv/royale. I'm going to click on play now.
I believe you,
And
Robbie.
squad name, I'm going to say cat5.
Yeah.
Let's go!
Loading resources.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, how many people
There
are
are
there?
so
Are we
many
ready?
people playing.
Oh, that's me. Oh, there's me.
Is this like the lobby?
Ah, this is amazing.
This is the lobby,
Oh,
yes.
This is so cool.
Okay.
Oh, here we
Game
go.
starts in 13 seconds. Okay, folks.
I love how it says the world.
And it looks like it is. Now, look, I've got Cat 5 up at the top left instead of Mario. That's awesome.
This is
Sweet.
legit.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
1 second, folks. Here we go.
How long?
Whoa!
will we survive.
I'm already dead.
Oh my gosh.
Oh wow!
Look at them all go.
Spam.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Does it give you like your plays?
Do I get another
37
life?
Players. Oh, look, you
35
can
left?
See, yeah.
Okay, come on. Oh, it can't end there, folks. It can't end there. One more try. One more try. Here I am in the lobby again.
That first one
All right.
was a practice
maybe just-
round.
I
Hang
think,
back
you
and
know
then
what?
let them
Rather
go
than
ahead of you.
trying to get the blocks and stuff, I'm going to try instead to just avoid the...
The onslaught
Yeah, they're
of
cute.
Mario.
I mean, you can't call them like Koopalings or anything like that anymore. So, Infringiolings,
generic character.
any characters, yes.
Just yeah.
Here we go. Now, the sound, you can't hear it because of the way we've got this set up, but know that the sound... Oh, and I'm already dead again.
That was a long time though.
It's
That's a
so
lot better.
confusing because there are 99 other players. There are
Yes.
literally thousands of people attacking this server right now playing Infringio.
Yes.
Head on over to cat5.tv/royale, and that will allow you to play it in your game. See if you get further than me. It wouldn't take
Yeah,
much.
You beat Robbie's record. How long? 8 seconds. That's pretty good.
Woohoo! Yay! It's great to see you both. Thank you for being here. Henry,
for
always a
having
pleasure
me.
to have you here. Hope to have you back again soon.
Great to be here.
It's all the time that we have, folks, for this week. Thank you to those who have pitched in for our new server build. Whether you have sent a little donation here or there, whether you've shopped on our Amazon link or become a patron, we greatly appreciate your support, and we couldn't do this show without you. Don't forget, we are on Twitter at Category 5 TV. I am personally also on Twitter at Robbie Ferguson. Shameless self-promotion. Do you have a Twitter account?
I have YouTube.
YouTube?
Follow my YouTube, Henry Baillie-Brown. For
Follow his YouTube.
aviation tech stuff.
Also,
I don't know.
believe it or not, we are also on YouTube.
That's true. We are.
Look for Category 5
They
Technology
should subscribe
TV.
to your YouTube
Probably best to do
and
that.
ring the bell so then they know whenever Cat 5 stuff comes out.
He knows
And
how this
also
works. He was
Linux Tech
listening.
Show,
Yeah,
right?
linuxtechshow.com will actually take you to our YouTube channel. And
There you go.
that's a secondary YouTube channel where we edit down all the clips from the 1 hour show so that you can just watch that 5, 10, 15-minute clip. So that's a great thing to subscribe to as well. Don't forget, we're also on Roku's channel store, also on like Kodi and Plex if you want to download our channels from our GitHub page, which is Cat5TV. And of course, we bring it all together on our official website, category5.tv. But that's it for this week, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.